right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our very first hashtag TMMTV. Thoroughly Modern Marketing is very happy to have a really great panel tonight to discuss some hot digital marketing topics. So as we go along, we're going to be talking about some articles. And if you're interested in getting the links to these articles, you can go ahead and go to hashtag TMMTops. That's TMM as in Thoroughly Modern Marketing, T as in Thomas, OPS. That's where we have our stream of the articles we're going to be talking about today. I also put some links into the Google Plus event, so you can find some of the links there. And I will also post all of the links tomorrow in a wrap-up blog post. So all the information will be available to you. If you have questions during our panel discussion tonight, please feel free to tweet them. We would love to answer your questions to hashtag TMMTV. So without any further ado, I want to thank all of my panelists so much for joining me for this first episode of our show. I'm so happy to have you guys here. And we're going to start with Amanda Bernard. She is the Director of Digital Strategy for ISITE Design. Her Twitter handle is there at Amanda Bernard. Feel free to reach out to her. Thank you, Amanda, so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yay! And then up next we have Andrew Grossman. I'm going to go in order. I have them kind of backwards in my notes. Andrew is a social media strategist and community manager at PGE. He is a I would call him just a young kind of upstart social media guru. He started a project called hashtag Project Lookup. If you haven't heard of it, I recommend looking it up. It's a very, very cool project. So Andrew, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yay. And then we have Joel Bornzen. Hi, Joel.
Hey.
Joel is the senior editor of FacebookAdvance.com, which is our sister publication to TMMPDX.com. It's focused on Facebook marketing. He is a digital strategist and also a very active Facebook community manager. So he kind of is our in-house, I'd call him your kind of our Facebook expert here today, Joel. So welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And then last up we have Lara, who works as a digital marketing strategist and project manager at Whitehorse. I would say that what your specialty really is great content, Lara. I know that's that's one of your strengths. So I'm happy to have someone who is content savvy on our panel tonight.
Thank you.
Hey. All right, guys, so those are introductions. Let's get to our first issue here. The first article that I want to talk about is one actually that Andrew, you posted. 45% of social networkers engage with brands online. So I've been seeing this study now float around. I've seen it a lot of different places over the last week. I think the article that I had looked at was on Mashable.com. Basically, ins and outs, quick ins and outs of the article, 45% of people have interacted with a brand via social. That's the big, it's growing, it's expanding, more and more people are interacting with brands on social. But there were a couple of other stats in the article that I would like to mention. One is only 7% apparently have followed a brand on Twitter or posted feedback on a brand profile page. I think that's interesting. And then another point that was made that I would love to discuss is, IBM, they're still talking about direct sales, and IBM saying that, Twitter basically generated 0 sales on Black Friday. They were basically trying to track, direct hits from Twitter to their sales e-com platform, and they're not giving Twitter any love, and they're saying they got 0 sales from Twitter. So I thought it kind of was a bag of mixed news, and I want to start with, first of all, how do you feel about that 45% number? Is it good? Is it bad? What are your thoughts? And Amanda, I'll start with you.
Well, I saw some similar numbers, and I think it just kind of shows that, people are willing to engage with brands, but, are they really doing it? I think it sort of comes back to, like, what is the brand really giving the customer what they need through social? It's the customer is making the attempt to reach out to the brand, but, is the brand really delivering and giving back to the customer to keep them engaged, and really, if sales are, in IBM's case, if that's really what they're pushing, is it really that Twitter wasn't successful for them, or was it really more a matter of how they were approaching their strategy using Twitter? That's what I would question.
And how do you account for the 7% number where, as a marketer who, having done social for so many years, and it's, it's definitely maturing, but at the end of the day, I think clients are still hung up on how many people are following me, how many people like my page, and this number of 7% is, I think, pretty low for people that actually admit to following a brand or posting feedback on a brand's profile page, which is one of the metrics that I've used in the past to try and prove that somehow our social media campaign is successful. I mean, what do you think about that 7% number?
Well, I think that it is really low, and I think when you're evaluating opportunities across other channels, that's something that people are going to be looking at and considering closely. But I think that brands can't ignore the importance of social, and whether it's from a customer service perspective or it's a matter of getting more exposure in search. I mean, the value is there. I think the real problem still is sort of what's the attribution model like for social media, and like how do we really know what the true impact is? And I think Google Plus is kind of trying to show this ripple effect, which I think is actually a little bit more of an accurate way to think about social. Is that it might not be the last touch point or the first touch point, but it's a touch point that has to be a part of the mix. And if it's not, then you're likely missing out, and so why not have that be something that you're engaging? This might, though, have brands consider how much time they want to allocate to their activities, but again, I think it goes back to attribution, and I think that we still have a long way to go to really understand the true impact of social engagement.
Excellent. Andrew, let's move to you. You're the one who posted this article. What were your thoughts when you read the article? Why did you feel it was valuable?
I think that it's a valuable article because it really highlights that I think the question of ROI in social media, and it brought up a lot of the thoughts that we've already discussed for me, which is that it's not always a direct measurement of sales per se, but sometimes that social media is your connective tissue between all sorts of, I would say, external communications in general, and that it is a very necessary thing to have, maybe for customer service, maybe for monitoring brand reputation or reporting, or to be in league with competition. I like to throw articles like that out there in general because I think it's kind of my responsibility as somebody who is highly involved in social media. And I would say that article, it didn't necessarily put us social media managers in the best light either, but I think that is good because it's how we improve. And if there's a lack of understanding around the value of social media, and this article might show that, then that tells me that we need to start finding ways to track other metrics. And that's part of the sort of ever-evolving landscape of technology. And I think mobile will be a huge part of that. But ultimately, it's a discussion that I like to have with other social media managers. How do you make social media something that seems valuable to a business that is paying looking most closely at sales as a reason for social media?
Excellent. And Joel, you, I know, are very active managing your company's Facebook page. So I want to come to you. This 7% number, folks that have actually posted feedback on a profile, how many comments, how many posts you get from your likers of your Facebook page? Is that a metric that the executives at your company are interested in? Do you use that to prove success, or what are the metrics that you use within your communities to kind of prove that ROI question, outside of do you use direct sales? What's your input? What's your take on it?
Well, I think both Andrew and Amanda make great points about ROI and measuring impressions and metrics like that. But to answer your question directly, I think there's no doubt the value of social media. I think it's always important kind of to give one key example rather than 2 or 3 examples. So the one key example that I can give from my seat is that when I came into beginning to manage our social media communities at my job, Facebook wasn't even in the top 10 referrers to our website. Wow. Since we've been very active now in social media, Facebook has not only broken the top 10 referrers of our website, but also broken the top 10 revenue sources for our website.
Wow, that's impressive.
That speaks to the testament, though, I think, of really 2 things. One, it makes me think of, are we connecting with the fan? Clearly we are. Are we giving them a reason to buy? And I wonder about that article, too. What was the reason to buy? Are they given, discounts? Are they a promotion? Is there some kind of active strategy that they have to get someone farther down in the conversion funnel to convert to revenue? As social media managers and community managers, I think it's up to us to challenge ourselves to give that customer or fan a reason to buy. I think that the argument that social media is valuable from a pure marketing standpoint and getting a message out and communicating with the community is, I think that argument's already been laid to rest. I think the value is there. I think everyone knows that. I do think, though, revenue is something that we need to continue to prove. And I think connecting with the fan and giving them a reason to buy is really where it's at.
Excellent. And finally, we'll come to you, Lara. What are your thoughts on this number from maybe from a content perspective? Is content king? Is it about content? Clearly, people aren't going to brands' pages anymore. I think we've all known that for some time. This metric, the 7% metric, I think proves that even further. What's your take?
I think that it's not only about content, it's about strategy of content. And in regards to, how are you engaging? And what level are you engaging with your audience? And I think that it's about finding your strategy. So it's not so much to put up a social media stream, it's just not that simple. I mean, I think that it's a requirement to have a presence, but once you've got your presence, now what? How are you engaging with your audience? So a good example is a banking client that we worked with, a regional banking client. I mean, they were looking at Wells Fargo, they were looking at Bank of America to try and come up with some different ideas or how they should, construct their presence. And where we ended up going, the strategy I consulted them with was, talk about your community engagement, and that's what your focal point should be in your social. Because they were so heavily involved with the community, they had so many events and so many things they were doing. They were sponsoring California's largest biking tournament, race. I mean, so it just made sense to connect on that level, and it also helped to open a lot of social gateways into different local communities where their branches were located. So, I think that's where you can get, you can break that ceiling.
So but again, to clarify, and you say, engaging the community and all of these, things, but again, engagement on what level? If you're not, people have admitted that they don't post feedback. So I think you need to kind of give a little bit of a definition to what that engagement looks like. If it's not posting on a brand's page or profile page, what is it? What are they doing? And 45% of people have interacted with the brand via social media. What does that interaction look like? If it's not posting a comment on a Facebook page, or it's not following a brand, right? Does it just mean that, are they bitching? Are they complaining? Are they what does the interaction look like, and how does that translate to metrics that analysts can start looking at? That's open to the panel if anyone wants to hop in with that one.
I have something on that. So I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier about how social media can be that sort of connective tissue between the various touch points that exist between a consumer and a brand. The article really focused on direct referrals. I mean, that was what IBM was measuring. But I think the real answer is that whether or not you're actually engaging directly with a brand in social media, or if that is the sale, having that brand exist within your network may be something that's really valuable, and it's difficult to track. But I can say as a consumer, which I think is kind of one of the most valuable perspectives that a social media manager or strategist has, as a consumer, I'm really happy to have most businesses that I'm engaged with in some way, shape, or form on social media. And I've found that, particularly in customer service, but also in other areas, I feel closer to that brand because I will see their updates in my stream. Now, do I always click them and go through and buy right then? No, but it could be, I think, a deciding factor. You know, it's sort of that subliminal understanding that that brand is maybe going to be my preference on the next sale. I don't know.
And I completely agree with that. And I think here's something that I found to be a difficulty, which is I would argue, because you, Andrew, are, you know, you're young and you're basically born and bred on technology and the internet.
Right.
You get the fact that having a, you know, socially connected company, or, you know, socially a company that's out there at least making an effort to connect with people on social, or allowing that dialogue, even if I don't opt to use it or I don't opt to follow them, but at least having that in place definitely improves my opinion of that brand 100%. Even if I don't opt to have any engagement. But how do you, and I think maybe all of us in the panel might agree with that point, but then how do you communicate that to a client or a business owner who, you know, for all is probably older, maybe in their 50s, 60s, who isn't in our generation, who don't quite understand that, who, you know, LinkedIn maybe is kind of still new to these people. I've been having that conversation over and over again with clients where to try to explain, you need to be there because people expect you to be there, and it just reflects poorly on your brand if you're not there.
Right.
I think that's for me has been difficult to prove, and any insight from anyone on how you tackle that discussion might be interesting.
I've had a lot of success focusing, instead of on quantitative, on qualitative reporting. And so I like to, well, first of all, I find that when I sit down with clients and I talk about their involvement in social media, I mean, when I was first starting, I was always looking for those metrics that would be really impressive, large, or that would relate to sales. But they, honestly, in my experience, aren't as interested in that. If they have an interest in social media already, it's usually because they understand in some way, shape, or form that they need to be. And some of them aren't, you know, so you know, take that with a grain of salt. But when I sit down, I show them, particularly other people within their industry that are using social media. And I try and highlight some of the rich engagements that occur. You know, so there are tons of examples. You know, I mean, I run social for a restaurant, and I remember that somebody was complaining about how there are no gluten-free options at, you know, restaurants in the area, right? So just sent a link of the menu, and then I highlighted a couple gluten-free options. And that customer was so happy to hear that somebody actually solved their problem that they went on to, you know, favorite the tweet, to retweet it, to talk about it with friends. And, you know, business owners or whoever the decision maker is might not understand the true value in social, but when they see something like that, they get it, you know? Because then you click through that person's profile and you talk about how many followers they have, and on average, how many people would see that tweet or see something valuable from it, you know? So to me, it's saying, you know, this person retweets that, gives us their thumbs up, basically, and now their network has us in their peripherals. And it's the ripple effect. And so when, you know, later down the line, you eventually have to report on performance, but I think that in terms of getting involved in social media, it's just good to focus on those rich stories. And so it could be as small as something like a gluten-free menu thing, or, you know, much larger, like a brand that actually leverages social media as a communications channel to determine its direction. You know, it's like you put this out there, we listened, and this is the change we made, and to see people's response in that way. So I guess my answer at like a much more summarized level would be look at what other companies are doing that is compelling, and highlight that instead of pulling out metrics.
I like that answer, but I am going to wrap up this segment with metrics. I would like, let's go through, just give me maybe one or two social media metrics that you feel have been valuable for your clients. And I'll start. One that I have tracked that I feel there's value in for my clients has been overall share of voice. So taking brand mentions across the social web and being able to kind of trying to get some sort of a baseline or an estimate of how many people in the big scheme of things are mentioning and talking about the brand. And I think that there's some value there. So whoever wants to go next, let's just do one, and then we're going to switch topics. Amanda, you go.
To clarify, are they positive metrics or negative metrics? Can we go both directions?
Either or. You can go both. You can switch it up.
All right.
Well, I would say, you know, at ISITE, we really develop all of our digital marketing around in support of customer experience or optimizing the customer experience. So for us, I would say that, you know, it's not a clearly defined metric, but sentiment is something that is really important, that we really can leverage to really understand, like, are we meeting our customers' expectations? And, you know, if not, how can we make that better? And just using it, you know, to really understand more about the needs of our customers and if our client's doing a good job at meeting those needs or not.
Excellent. I love it. Joel, you're on.
One metric that I really like is the weekly page reach from Facebook Insights, and that's something that I can tell if our promotion's getting through, how many people it's reaching, and if our promotion is effective. And so that's one metric that I like on Facebook.
Excellent. Lara.
So my number one thing I always go to is the growth of engagement. Are we seeing a line growing up? Where are we dipping? That's where I usually look first.
Growth of engagement. Define engagement for me.
So when you're looking in Facebook, for example, you know, it'll show your engagements with your audience. That's one place.
So like, just to put a real definition. So a like, a comment, a share. Those are the types of things you're measuring on Facebook for engagement.
Facebook takes all of those things into consideration. If you were like searching it manually, you know, you could define that further. But, yeah.
So growth of engagement. Okay, thank you. And last but not least, Andrew.
I really enjoy tracking from Facebook Insights the negative feedback votes. So those would be either a hidden post or hiding all posts. And in what I do socially, I try and minimize those. So I like to see that number be at a very, very minimal amount. And it's very common now with the lack of visibility on Facebook to see it be quite high, as posts can be perceived as spammy.
Interesting. Great, guys. Love it. That's going to wrap it up. Let's move on to issue number 2. So another kind of big thing that happened this week, some of you guys may be familiar with it, was this whole Instagram debacle. And I'm just going to sum it up here, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. So as most of you guys know, Instagram was bought by Facebook not too long ago. I'm a huge fan of Instagram. I love it. I still use it, but I was very sad when Facebook bought Instagram. Because I'm not as in love with Facebook as I am with Instagram. So Instagram updated their terms of service, and I was really interested. I'm going to read exactly the wording that they used to update the terms of service, and there's 2 portions here that I think created the backlash. So they are as follows. To help us deliver interesting paid or sponsored content or promotions, you, being the user of Instagram, agree that a business may pay us to display your username, likeness, photos in connection with paid or sponsored content or promotions without any compensation to you. The second part that was controversial. You hereby grant to Instagram a non-exclusive, fully paid, and royalty-free, transferable, sub-licensable, worldwide license to use the content that you post on or through the service, except that you can control who can view certain of your content and activities on the service as described in the service's privacy policy. All right, so that first one. That first one shocked me when I read it. Frankly, I mean, how they can back away from that, it kind of baffles me, because it pretty much just says it, like, right there, like, you know. Anyway, all right, so clearly backlash. So here, so people just got very uptight and upset with that. So Instagram had a fairly defensive response to this backlash. So the founder of Instagram, Kevin Systrom, posted this, and I find it so amusing. And I'm quoting, "Legal documents are easy to misinterpret, so I'd like to address specific concerns we've heard from everyone. Advertising on Instagram from the start. Instagram was created to become a business. Advertising is one of the many ways that Instagram can become a self-sustaining business, but not the only one. Our intention in updating the terms was to communicate that we'd like to experiment with innovative advertising that feels appropriate on Instagram. Instead, it was interpreted by many that we were going to sell your photos, because they said it, to others without any compensation. This is not true, and it is our mistake that this language is confusing. To be clear, it is not our intention to sell your photos. We are working on updated language in the terms to make sure this is clear." So, walking it back, you know, what are your thoughts? Is this a huge problem? Are people going to drop like flies? I know people are saying that they're leaving Instagram. How much of this is Facebook's influence? What do you think? Amanda, go, you're on.
You know, I think people have been operating under this illusion that all of this content that they create is owned by them, when that's never really been the case. The concept of digital sharecropping has been around for a long time, and if for people who might be watching who might not be familiar with that term, it's this concept of creating, you know, massive amounts of content on networks that you don't actually own, so that at the end of the day, you know, you don't really have anything to show for it other than, you know, what you've been compiling for some other organization or business. So, you know, I personally just think, like, you know, it was bound to happen, and the fact that people are shocked and up in arms, I think, is, you know, frankly, just people not realizing that, you know, that's how these networks operate. And, you know, if you carefully read almost all of the terms of service, most of them have this hidden somewhere that at the end of the day, they own your content. Now, you know, coming right out and saying we're going to sell it, we're going to profit and advertise off of it, that was pretty, you know, ballsy for them to come out and you know, really lay it out there. And now they're obviously backpedaling. But, you know, again, I think, you know, people need to just educate themselves and realize that, you know, all these, you know, amazing photos that you're posting on Instagram, like, you know, you basically end up owning a copy of that, or if you have the original file on your computer. But, you know, when you upload it to Instagram, it's theirs.
Yeah. Andrew.
So this always makes me laugh. I just okay, so first of all, I feel like getting really defensive over your content that goes out to social media, and forgive me if I'm offending anybody, is just really stupid, because an Instagram photo taken on an iPhone picture, I mean, an iPhone camera, right? I mean, that's not a high quality photograph. And way back in the day, believe it or not, I used to model. So I worked with photographers, and they would say things like, "I hate Instagrammers because these people think that they are amateur photographers, and they're, you know, just basically offending all of us who actually do this for a profession." So that's my first point, is that, you know, people should just, like, calm down their Instagram photos. But then my second point is that when I take an Instagram picture, it's nothing that I wouldn't want to be stolen. So, I mean, like, what, a picture of a sunset, and you want to get really offensive about it, if somebody takes it and repurposes it, I think that's actually kind of beautiful. And when you call it a social network, I'm assuming that people are going to interact with my content. And if that means that they love it so much they're going to make an advertisement out of it, then great. I'll probably get no credit for it, but I'll go, hey, that was my photo, and that would actually make me feel a little warm inside. So that's my thing. But then looking at the audience's reaction to this, it was amazing to me to see how many people actually got offended, and I think that that was because the language was not very tactful. So when they changed the whole, legal documentation in order to open up experimental advertising or whatever, I think people have this pretty negative understanding of what that would look like. And to me, I think if you were to see it actually come, materialize, I mean, it would be a series of beautiful photos, probably with some great music, and you would probably like it on Facebook without even knowing that your photo got stolen. So, I think it's not bad. That's where I'm coming from.
Joel, come on, disagree with this kid. Let's disagree.
I don't know. This whole conversation just reminds me of when MySpace initially launched, and bands were uploading their music files, and MySpace actually owned their songs, and there was a big case of Billy Bragg versus MySpace that ultimately resulted in bands being able to retain the ownership of their songs. So I think that this just resonates with that same kind of issue happening again and again. And the second thing that I'll say is as we all know, is that when the product is free, you're the product. How many times have we heard that? And I think that shouldn't be any surprise. I don't know what the controversy is. I mean, it's like, hello, this is just so typical of a internet service to pull this kind of stunt. Now, no doubt it was their Quickster moment. No doubt it was their Netflix, gaffe of sorts. But even the news statement seems a little bit dicey if you really read the language.
Completely. They're not. They're still going to do their shit.
Yeah, and the other thing too that this reminds me of is Facebook's been using people's content for a long time to advertise with. I mean, how many times have you looked at and seen like your friend likes Walmart or whatever, or gives a thumbs up to Target or whoever's advertising on Facebook at the moment? So one, I don't see why there's a controversy, or actually one, I don't see why there's a surprise about this. But two, I can certainly see why ownership of your content would be controversial.
All right, next. LH, sorry.
So Joel kind of stepped on what I was going to say about this, which was that someone in my feed posted an awesome Twitter from someone famous talking about how, sure, it's fine when you pirate the music and the video and the game files, but, when it comes to your own photos on Instagram, then you make a big stink about it.
That's a good point.
And that really made me laugh because, yeah, that's, that's the way it is. And also, like, Andrew said, I mean, these are really low-grade Instagram photos. I'm sure we all think are really amazing the moment that we're taking them, but, and the reality is, who is really going to want these? And if they do get featured, that should be flattering to the owner of the photo or the person who took it. But I think that the real travesty is going to come when the day comes, if it ever comes, that one of these little off-the-cuff snaps ends up making somebody else a lot of money, and then that's going to be the Billy Bragg moment when you're going to see somebody suing over that intellectual property right. But until then, it's going to be a complete non-issue, except from a PR standpoint, which they should have handled a lot better.
So am I correct in saying, so it sounds like all of you come down on the side of fuck privacy and excuse the F-bomb, and people just need to expect this, and it is what it is. Joel, I got a small sense from you that you maybe fell on the other side of the argument that there may, that these people that are complaining may have a leg to stand on. But so let's just be clear. So those raise your hand if you feel like the people that are bitching about this are completely insane and they don't have an argument. Who feels that they really just don't have an argument? We've got Andrew.
I think they have an argument. I got
one.
I don't know. I think they have an argument, but I don't think that they have a good argument.
Well, then raise your hand.
Lisa, one thing about this is that actually, it's surprising that it came from Facebook, because Facebook clearly has an opt-out mechanism for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they have included that in Instagram? I don't know. But that is one thing that they didn't include in Instagram that they do have in Facebook. So that was a surprise, actually.
I would add, okay, I also know photographers that use Instagram. Okay, so we did talk about the occasion where it's an expert photographer who actually Instagrams a preview of their photos. But I would even add, in that case, most smart people I know on Instagram watermark their photos.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, then you get the credit, and that's like the be-all, end-all solution, right? If you're afraid of people stealing your things, then photo edit them.
So
Or it asks another question: Should we be paying for social services? I mean, Dalton Caldwell launched app.net this year with paid-for service. It's $5 a month or whatever, and you're going to retain every ownership and everything. So, I mean, that's the kind of question that comes up: is do we want to pay for social services? And if we're not paying for them, this is what we should expect.
So basically, the next business model is going to be the free watermarking add-on, Instagram add-on.
Here we go.
I will point out, I think that it is interesting. The difference in there is a generational difference. I think that Andrew is significantly younger than myself, and again, he kind of falls into this Gen Z category or whatever, where I think probably he is he's not the exception. He's probably the norm. Where yes, we have kind of celebritized our youth to a point where they love the idea of being exploited, quite frankly. Right? They love the idea of having their stuff be featured and let Facebook and Instagram make money off of my shit because now I'm a celebrity and yeah, whereas I definitely come to the table with a slightly different perspective, which is when I read this, you agree that a business may pay us to display your username, likeness, photos in connection with paid or sponsored content. That really does get me upset to think that they're going to make money and shitloads of it. Let's not forget billions of dollars potentially Facebook and Instagram are making off of us. And I don't know. It definitely troubles me, but I think that there is a generational difference, and I think Facebook is banking on the Andrew generation, not my generation.
Well, I think really the issue comes down to transparency. If they were upfront and disclose that upfront, then it's your prerogative whether or not you're going to share your photos. But once they're already in Instagram and now they're saying retroactively we own all your photos,
yeah,
that's the part that I think is really uncool personally. But then at the same sense, anything you put in the public domain is subject to be, ripped off. So
yeah. All right, next topic. Good discussion, you guys. Final answer. I'm not leaving Instagram. I'm going to stick with it. If they want to use my pictures of whatever the hell I'm posting, they can go for it. And I'm willing
to just do this in every single photo.
Exactly. All right, Instagram, whatever. Okay. So the next topic, issue number 3, and then we're going to kind of move into a little bit more. We'll start taking questions, and if you guys want to tweet, if anybody's listening and wants to tweet #TMMTV, we'll take your questions. Final thing, so Nike Plus, there was some big news about Nike Plus Accelerator program. So Nike has launched basically a startup mentoring program here in Portland. Don't know how much you guys know about this, but I'll read kind of a snippet about what it's all about, and then just want to get your take on your thoughts about how big this is for Portland. So this is from David Cohen's blog, who was writing about this. Today, Nike announced their first Nike Plus Accelerator program powered by Techstars. 10 companies will participate in a 3-month mentorship-driven program. The technology focus will be about leveraging the success of the Nike Plus Fuel band, Nike Plus Running, and Nike Fuel to support digital innovation. Anyone that knows me will tell you I'm a quantified self-geek and enjoy data. I've been using the Nike Fuel band for several months, and I'm loving it. I've used other quantified self devices and lost 35 pounds in the last 9 months because of the accountability associated with things like this. Living a healthier life is a hot topic in an exciting space, and Nike is perfectly positioned to address this technology. That's a la David Cohen. The link to his blog post will be in the follow-up post here. So big news. Cool. We're going to have some cool startup program. Oh, by the way, they're taking submissions through February 3rd. If anybody out there has interesting ideas around how to use this technology, you can submit and potentially get admitted into this mentorship program. What do you think, Amanda?
Is this a paid mentorship?
I don't know. No, I think
So
I don't think
basically,
so.
Nike is going to just, take people's ideas for free and then go make more billions of
Speaking
dollars
about
off of
tuning,
it.
I'm sure they're gonna have to sign something like, all the friggin' contestants on American Idol, like, I'm gonna give American Idol 10% of everything I make for the rest of my life. Probably. Why not? Why not?
I mean, I think it's a cool idea. It's awesome, and I'm sure a lot of companies want to be involved just for the experience and for the bragging rights to say, hey, we came up with an innovation that Nike is now using.
Right.
But again, I think
This is the ultimate user-generated content scam
yeah. I mean, this is
on a big level.
there's a common theme here of what we've been discussing of like companies making lots of money off of people doing work for them or making their content. So
Crowdsourcing.
Crowdsourcing.
That's what we call it.
Who owns this show?
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Andrew.
Okay, so in a very different, completely non-commercial way, I've definitely crowdsourced content and ideas, and my experience is that the people who submit them are often very proud to have them used. And that's because ideally they're these really engaged people within whatever your business community is, and they want to feel like they influence the direction of the company. And so I know it sounds like Nike is totally taking advantage of the situation, which is very true. At the same time, I think that there is some pride in getting your idea used. And I will say that there's probably some benefit to that mentorship relationship where you're able to work with pretty well-established business professionals and maybe improve your business too. So I don't feel like they're getting nothing out of it. So I think it would actually be really cool, if not for the networking, if, maybe the advice or who knows, maybe that relationship helps you, be inspired about some other type of idea.
I love it. The optimist, the eternal optimist. Joel, what do you think? You got an opinion, Joel?
I do. Yeah, more optimism, actually. I think that it's always great for Portland and for our region when these big players like Nike and Walmart Labs came in and bought Small Society. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I mean,
Yes.
there's a lot of good time, for big companies to come into Portland and support startups. And I just think that if that's the kind of environment that we're in, if we're Silicon Valley North, I want to throw my support for that too. And it's good to see Nike, especially in their own backyard, really get out there and kind of put themselves out there. I mean, they don't have to do this. They don't have to do this. They have their own in-house research. They can hire the most talented people in the world, but it's nice to see them out there doing something and supporting startups and really putting this out there. So I totally support this.
That's a good point, Joel. And Lara?
Yeah, so my opinion, I support crowdsourcing and transparency. As long as it's transparent, as long as the people know what they're getting into when they're doing it, I think that it's their decision to make if it's something they want to contribute to. A lot of times you can drive something based on an emotional reward as opposed to, a monetary reward, and that's what I think a lot of times you get. If you can make it some kind of a reciprocal relationship in that way, then you'll get a lot of participation. It's the same. That's the same point I was trying to make, coming back to my the first topic when I was talking about how to engage your audience. There's a lot of different ways you can engage people, and sometimes it's an emotional level.
Well,
All right, guys. So let's move forward.
I was gonna throw in one last optimistic point.
Go for it. Go for it. Do it.
Since I had the pessimistic take the first response,
Which I love. You're here to the Senate.
yes, I'll drink to that. I think because these are startups that, there probably is a great benefit for getting, future funding, like if they are, collaborating with Nike and proving that they're very innovative and, coming up with unique technology solutions. That likely is going to set them up really well for future, VC. Hopefully that's the optimistic side rather than, them sort of sucking off of startups who already might not have that much money to start out with.
Right, that's right. All right, let's talk tools. So I know everybody loves new tools. I did, in the transparency, I gave all of my panelists a heads up that I was going to ask them for their new favorite digital marketing tool. I have one, so I will kick it off, and then you guys can follow in. So my favorite new tool that I discovered working with a client this week was some raventools.com. You can find it at raventools, R-A-V-E-N tools.com. It's an interesting tool. It does a lot of things. It says that it does SEO stuff and PPC stuff and then social stuff. But the reason that I found it to be valuable for my client is it does social monitoring really well. So for a pretty low price point, you can take the share of voice that I was talking about earlier in terms of trying to kind of search your brand mentions across the social web. It has one of the most comprehensive lists of networks that it will actually scour for brand mentions or industry terms or competitor mentions, so you can really get a nice kind of full picture of where you stand in comparison to your competitors. They will cover, so when they're searching, they cover 20+ social networks, blogs, forums, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, Flickr, a lot. And then you get 20 keywords searches, so 20 queries for $99 a month, which was super, super cheap. There's a reporting function, so you can kind of aggregate and track month to month if your mentions are growing or so. That's my favorite tool, $99 a month, raventools.com. Next, what do you got for me? Anyone?
Okay, I'm about to have a rant. My favorite social media tool is actually Storify. Okay, so it's not that new, but it isn't that popular yet, and I think that's ridiculous. So, has anybody? Okay, first of all, raise your hand if you've actually used Storify here. Okay, okay. So there is a summary needed. So Storify is essentially, well, it's storify.com. You go and you can sort of aggregate all sorts of content into one big story, and you can embed that story on blogs, you can share it on various social networks, it has a link, and so what it ends up looking like is any sort of social story you want to tell, you literally can like take a bookmarklet and drag and drop it into what's called a storyboard, and then you build your story, so like an introduction, other links, and then you drag and drop. You can upload images and files, and so I've already used it for two different purposes. One, for representing my individual social media campaigns, and I've yet to go full out and publish and publicize them. But for me, it's great because you can sort of introduce the campaign, the process, and then drag in the manifestations of that campaign and really give your audience this full understanding of all of the touch points, which I think is really unique because until now, perhaps, we've been counting on people picking up pieces here and there, right? Now you can give them the really full understanding of all of this work you did to deliver them value. Which I think will inevitably lead to some really good goodwill. And then the other use for me has been sort of online reputation management reporting tool. So kind of pulling in all sorts of customer insights and things like that for a brand, and then just like shooting the link over to whomever you're reporting to so that they can go in and get a really visual understanding of
Great
what
idea, Andrew.
we're talking about their brand. And you can see the person's picture, and then if they're really curious about a particular piece, you can click through to that piece of content. They could theoretically respond to each individual person. I mean, it's so awesome. And it's a social network in and of itself, which, again, isn't that popular yet. I haven't had a lot of engagement. I have like one follow, and I'm a social media nerd. But I think it's really cool. So
let me ask you a follow-up question. So it sounds great. In terms of the functionality of being able to pull the content into a website, how does it do that? So let's say I wanted to embed, or is there like a widget? Is it like do you have experience with that? And how does that work?
So it is a widget. It's a really versatile thing. I mean, it literally pulls. So like if you were on Twitter, you would click a particular tweet, which selects that tweet, right, and then it expands it a little bit. And then you would click your bookmarklet, and that says storify this. And so then other people can storify it, A, which I think is really cool, and B, you can add it to your storyboard. So when it actually appears on your storyboard, it's just that little square piece of content which is actually connected to Twitter. So click through to it as you or as the viewer. And then all other pieces of content are appropriately sized, and they just sort of sit at as these drag and droppable, rearrangeable previews, basically, of what the content is.
Love it. And then, so that sounds great, and so I've created this board, and then somehow I want to take this and move it onto a web page off of Store. Like, so I want to embed it into my website. That's pretty easy to do.
Yes, so when you actually publish your Storify, you can get an embed link, and then also the link to just shoot out to people if they want to visit it on Storify. And I've actually had a lot of success embedding it on my blog. So
Love it.
When you do that, I mean, it's like this full, I mean, it's the full thing, and then you can read more. So you could shorten it if it was maybe like a bandwidth issue or you're having load time problems. That's the only thing that I think might be an issue with Storify so far in terms of embedding it on your blog.
Is it slow to load?
But I think it's almost worth it for this sort of rich experience that you get, because, you know, I mean, when you're talking content marketing, you pour your heart and soul into writing some amazing piece of content, and like nobody engages with it. It's much easier to just tell a story from pieces that are already on the web and to have them be visual automatically, right? I mean, like, you pull a piece of content that's attached to a photo and it automatically expands. It's like, it's pretty. I think it's, you know, it's a great user experience. So, yeah.
So, Andrew, can you post a link to an example on your website somewhere for me to post with my follow-up notes? I'd love to see that.
Totally.
Awesome. Andrew, let's move to Amanda. Tools, what do you got?
So my tool du jour right now is Optimizely, and it's a testing tool, basically. It's a tool that allows you to very easily, without having to, you know, as long as your website is coded in a pretty clean way, to do really some drag and drop of elements on a page to test multiple versions without having to know a lot of coding. And you know, it's really, really user-friendly and simple and easy to use, and it just makes testing like super, super easy for just about anybody and just about any website. So it's a tool that that we use here at ISITE regularly, and it's definitely, it's been around for a little while, but it's gaining popularity. And actually, it's the tool that the Obama campaign used to run and optimize all of their tests that they ran on the Obama website, and really drive up donations and ultimately win the election.
Did you discuss pricing?
I think pricing varies. It's not free. It's not, you know, super inexpensive, but it has a low enough price point that, you know, it's a good solution. It's much more affordable than, say, like a Test and Target or
It's like it starts at $17 per month. It looks like here, Amanda, and goes all the way up. So there's a bronze package at $17, silver at $71, and then gold at $359. So you can definitely get in at a really low price point.
Yeah, yeah. See, we have a partner license, so I wasn't sure about you know, the individual user licenses, but yeah, so it is actually really inexpensive.
Yay! All right, Joel.
Okay, let me totally bore you for a second here with an oldie but a goodie. For Facebook, we launched our most recent holiday promotion using the Wildfire app. And it's, you know, it's simple, it's easy, we all know it. The reason why I use it is because I trust it. Pretty simple there. I'm open to hearing new applications that I could use for Facebook. One I've been looking into is Agorapulse. Few people use it. I haven't used it before. Would love to hear some feedback on that. And then this year we've also had a big video strategy rollout for us, and we've used QR codes in this strategy. So one of the tools I use too at work is Red Laser. And between Wildfire app and Red Laser, like I said, you know, they aren't too romantic right now, but they sure work well.
Redlaser.com?
Yep, it's an app. It's an app for iPhone.
What, and to tell me about it, what is it?
It's a QR code scanner. You can also use it to scan barcodes and check pricing as well.
Not into it.
Hey, I started with I'm gonna bore you for a second, didn't I?
All right, we can have a whole QR code discussion some other time. I'm not a big fan. Wildfire, I know, of course. I think they're a little bit pricey. I will say I have worked a lot with Agora Pulse. I'm friends with Emmerich, one of the founders, and I've worked with him. I think the functionality is probably as good as Wildfire and a much lower price point. It has some additional functionalities that make it a cool tool to look at. So I would definitely add, if you're thinking about doing a Facebook promotion, take a look at Agora Pulse. I like their product.
Great.
One more tool.
So mine is so boring. I've been a Hootsuite fan for a long, long time, and they keep making it better and better, and it's like my tool of choice.
Give us the 1-minute sales pitch on Hootsuite.
Well, what I love about it is everything. God, I mean, you can not only track your own Twitter feeds and Facebook through it, but you can track as many other streams as you want to, and it's in a dashboard that's really easy to use. And it's free if you want, or if you want to collaborate with other people, you can pay a little something. It has great analytics. It allows you to schedule. It allows you to actually, it'll like put your messages in automatically. It'll like decide the best time to release them for you if you want to send it out, and let it decide based on, you know, like its analytics. So, I mean, it's a great tool. I really love it.
Excellent. I'm using it right now, and in fact, this is a perfect segue to give a shout out to some of the people that are tweeting at us. So, at Linda Jellison has tweeted that she's watching and learning, and that we're having a great discussion. So, thank you so much, Linda, for sharing that. If you have a question, feel free to tweet it out. This is our first episode, so we really want to give a lot of love and thanks to the folks that are watching us. Really appreciate it. And we did get a question, you guys. So here comes, off the cuff. No preparation. This is like improv. Here's the question from Sharon Fennell. At Sharon Fennell is asking us. So she wants to know, moving from a long-term personal social media page to a business page, how can you appropriately leverage your old network in this transition? And this is the age-old question I get from so many clients. And I'm not, anyway, it's a tough answer. Who wants to go first?
I'll take the first one. I'd say you got to have a clear communication strategy to make that transition. You want to remind the audience that you do have. This may be a good time to use a promoted post. I'll put that out there.
Promoted post. Tell us just a little bit more about that.
So on Facebook, promoted post, as some people may know, there's this thing that's called Edge Rank. It's basically where when you put out a post, only a certain number of your fan base sees it, or only a certain number of your audience sees it. Now, if you want to pay Facebook to promote your post, it will be exposed to a much larger audience, and you actually have an opportunity to reach beyond that audience as well. Now, it doesn't cost that much. I mean, really, between $10, $25, $50 to $100, you can reach a pretty good size audience, and especially if you have a small business, it's not going to cost that much to do that. Now, what I mean about the clear communication strategies, I mean when you want to make that transition happen, you want to be transparent. You want to tell your community that the transition is happening, and you want to reinforce that message.
I like that. Good answer, Joel. Anyone else want to chime in with some tips on transitioning personal to professional?
Absolutely. I think that the key thing is, you want to, the communication is key. You want to let them know what's going on, but you can invite people to join your page, your business page. And then it's a great idea to continue following up by making posts about your business page on your personal page. And that's a really non-intrusive way to help keep your new venture in the eyes and minds of your personal followers and fans.
Good tip.
I think all of these are great tips, and I'll add that I think you could also use an opportunity to add some, content on your site, just announcing that you have a brand page, and perhaps even using your email marketing list to reach out and, treat it as like a, hey, this is something new that we're doing and we would love to have you come join us, because you may even, there may be people who would be more interested in, although not according to the previous reports that we talked about earlier, but there may be people out there who, may be more likely to feel like, it's a little bit more appropriate depending on, if you're a very small business, if it's a personal relationship and they know you as the business, that's one thing. But, if it's kind of an older page that's been out there that you're just looking to convert to an actual brand page, then, just letting people know that you're there and they may be even more trusting and to kind of, come and join the community rather than feeling like, this is a more of an individual kind of hiding behind a brand.
I wanted some clarity on the question, so I tweeted out. I don't know if we'll get a response, but I knew. So it's very broad, right? We're talking about transitioning from a personal social media network to a business page, but to me that could be Facebook, or it could be Twitter, or it could be Google+. It could be your actual personal account that you're trying to leverage and you're not going to delete that, or it could maybe have been like a first attempt at a business page that was personalized that you're going to delete and rehash. So there are a lot of different directions, and so I would first apologize if I'm not addressing the right one. But to focus on Twitter, I have definitely transitioned from a personal to a more professional one, or at least gone through different versions. And I've also been with a company that had an original social network that they reinvented. And it's really difficult because you never know when you can get 100% of your audience there at one time to tell them all, hey, I'm going to delete this one, so you move over here. And you don't want to lose fans because that sucks. So the best option for me was to sort of strip the social network, remove the picture, and then reinvent the bio. So write up the bio to just be like, new account, and here's the handle. Stop all activity on that social network, which means no signing in. Update all of your links to that account, to the new account, and then I would say, leading up to this point, spend a good couple weeks, like sort of sprinkling in tweets that say like, hey, I'm going to be moving here. This is, you have one more week. You have a couple more days. This is the last day. Give people a few warnings because you never know how many times you're actually going to get a hold of them. And then move over to the other one and monitor. This is key for me. Monitor the old hashtag to see if people are still tweeting at you, but they don't realize you've moved. Because the last thing you want is for people to be, having questions that are unanswered, and for you to be that silent account. So, and then for Facebook, I would say it's a little bit more difficult because I've seen reach and engagement be lower on Facebook. So I would agree with Joel. It might be good to do a sponsored post. And then also, I would say across different social networks, give people an idea. So on Twitter, maybe say we're switching over our Facebook page, and so on.
Love it. That's a
can't
really
please everybody, but
yeah, no, great comprehensive answers. Thanks, you guys, so much. We're going to wrap it up. We've been talking for almost an hour. I was worried we wouldn't have enough content for 30 minutes, but man, we did good. So, just a couple of new things. Well, I want to do two things before we wrap up, and they're going to be quick. One, I'm going to have a yes or no answer for you, a yes or no question, and you're just going to have to fire off the answer. We'll end with that. But right now, I want to do kind of a from my digital or strategist notebooks piece. So if you guys were to just weigh in on something new or up and coming, something that maybe the general public doesn't know about, we're all insiders here. Do you have kind of one thing that you could just like quick, 20 seconds, like, okay, here's what to look at for the next week, month, maybe 2013. What do you got for me? Who wants to go first? I'll go first, and I'll give you guys more time to think about it. So I've got two things. I'm going to just pop one thing to keep on the radar is Google Plus communities. Not sure if everybody knows. Maybe we all know, but maybe not everybody else knows. Google Plus did launch communities I'm excited. I'm getting a lot of really positive feedback from my network that there are some great active communities out there, that people are really finding this valuable, and it could be a game changer for Google+. So I'm super excited to hear that. They're very intuitive, they're easy to use, easy to set up, and it's really leveraging all of the amazing things that Google has been building into Google+, kind of culminating in these communities that I've heard some really great feedback. So that's number one. I have one more, and then I'm going to give it to you guys. This shocked me, and I'm just going to give the disclaimer. I haven't gotten in to really test this out, and I'm very skeptical. But MySpace, as you guys all heard, is beta-ing a new MySpace. I have a very hard time believing that it's valuable in any way, because I really wasn't a huge fan of the old MySpace. But I logged in. It looks interesting. It looks good. So if anybody out there wants an invite to the new MySpace, let me know. I can send some invites out to you guys. You can try it out and tell me what you think. I've heard it's kind of like a better version of Spotify. So apparently you can share music in the same way that you do on Spotify. Could be very interesting for musicians. Those are my two from my notebook. What do you guys got? Amanda, let's go.
Wow, well, yours are really specific. So I'm thinking more along the lines of what are the trends that I have my eye on for next year, and it's really two things for me. One is big data. It's a problem. It's something that keeps coming up over and over. Most companies and even small, individuals who have sites or, marketing activities that they're tracking, they have tracking in place, they're using analytics, but they have so much data that they don't know what to do with it, and it's not actionable for them to really get any great insights. So big data, and then customer experience is my other big trend for next year, is that all the companies right now that are really focused on customer experience and using digital to improve the customer experience are the ones that are experiencing exponential growth. And that trend's going to continue.
Love it. You're up, Andrew. Go.
Okay, so I'm also thinking trends. Mobile is my thing. So holiday season, everybody's going out buying gifts. I think that's going to be another spike in people using smartphones. They're cheaper than ever. Plans are super affordable, and I think it's going to increase the user population for mobile devices, and it's going to, I think, push brands more in the direction of thinking about how to deliver a great mobile experience in addition to your standard desktop.
Love it. Joel.
I'm going to talk ad dollars for a second. Twitter and Nielsen teamed up for a social TV rating, which is the first time that such a large rating service, national rating service, has used social signals to measure during the television show. So what that means is that advertisers that are interested in touching that interactive demographic and those people that share in social media, the shows that actually have those social signals are going to end up with the most scratch.
Good call. And that link to that article will be in the wrap-up. Joel, thanks for sharing that. Next, Lara.
Hey. So, I agree with what everyone has said, and I just want to drill down mostly on the customer experience issue. And I think that it gets a little more specific when it comes to, how we're engaging with people. And I think the two things to watch next year are going to be, one, how we're blending the experiences between all the different devices that we have out there. And you're going to see a lot more of that. And just today, actually, Whitehorse is launching our first ever truly responsive site that's responsive from the largest to the smallest screen. And that's going to become the next trend. That's what you're going to see. The user expectation is going to be that any kind of interaction with digital interaction is going to fit every single, and be consistent across every single device. So I think that's the first trend you're going to see. The second trend is going to be when it comes to blending your experiences from one medium to another. So how you're integrating your site with social media and vice versa. And those worlds are going to continue to blur and blend as we go, and you're going to just continue seeing more and more of that. But next year, I think is going to be really integral as people are starting to figure out better and better ways to make those two things integrate.
I love it. You guys are great, and really nice insider tips. We're going to wrap up. I'll say again, thank you guys all so much for being here. Your feedback and input was so valuable, and I appreciate it so much taking the time out. I know we're all super busy this time of year. So here's the yes or no question. and we're going to start with you, Amanda, and just really yes or no. Will Google Plus topple Facebook in 5 years or less?
Oh.
Yes or no?
I'm going to say yes.
Woohoo! Andrew.
I would say no.
Oh, we got split decision. Joel.
Well, I'd sure like to be optimistic on this, but there are lemmings out there, so no.
Oh. All right, it comes down to Lara. What do you think?
Are you going to still talk to me if I say no?
It's questionable. It's questionable.
I think that I'm really excited to see what Google Communities is going to do for Google. I think that, they keep trying to crack that Facebook egg, and, that could be it. Everyone keeps saying that, though. We heard that with Google Plus. I'd really love to see a better Facebook, honestly. That's what I'd really like to see. And I'd like to see one that has a little bit more concern for its users and a little bit easier to use and a little more intuitive, approach. So hopefully Google will be able to do that. But my answer actually would be probably neither of those things in 5 years. It'll be something else. It'll be one of those two things morphed into something completely different, or things are moving fast right now.
Anyone want to bet that it's the new beta MySpace in 5 years?
So yes or no? So we've got a yes, we've got 2 no's, and
Neither.
Yes or no? Lara, yes?
Neither.
No, it's yes or no. Come on. Come on. I'm playing hardball.
No.
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 So we've got 1 yes, we've got 3 no's. The answer is yes. Facebook will be done in 5 years. I am saying it here. It may not be Google Plus, but I don't think Facebook's going to be gone. That's my prediction. All right, guys, thank you so much. We're going to wrap it up. Look for this tomorrow. I will post the on-demand version if you want the source file. I'm happy to give it to all of you to post wherever you need it. We will be back with another episode of #TMMTV. Look for it. We're going to take a break over the holidays, and then we'll do another panel. So thanks, everybody, for watching, and I hope it was valuable. Bye. Cheers. I'm on vacation next week, so happy holidays to everybody. Cheers.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Blog shout out.
Yes, at TMMPDX. Bye.